The sun had barely begun to rise over the rugged hills of Israel, casting long shadows over the land. Yet, in the midst of the quiet dawn, a moment was unfolding that would be etched in the hearts of many for generations to come, a moment where the heavens would open wide, and the earth would tremble beneath the wheels of divine power. Elijah, the fearless prophet, was about to depart this earth in a way that no man had ever witnessed. Elijah stood on the edge of history, his heart heavy with the knowledge that his time on earth was drawing to a close. The winds were picking up, a gentle breeze at first, but quickly growing stronger, as though nature itself was aware of what was to come. And then it happened. A chariot of fire, pulled by horses of flame, appeared before him, a breathtaking sight that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. The fire swirled around him, lifting him from the ground, and Elijah's body was consumed by the brilliance, vanishing into the sky, carried on the chariot of heaven itself. In that moment, the world held its breath. The sun blinked in awe, the wind stilled in reverence. What mere mortal could endure such a display of celestial power? The great prophet, who had walked in faith for so long, now vanished into the very presence of God, his earthly journey complete, his mission fulfilled. But before this dramatic departure, there had been a life, one marked by fire, conviction, and unwavering faith. Elijah was not just a prophet. He was a man who stood alone in the face of idolatry, a man who would rather face death than betray the call of God. His name was a symbol of strength to the people of Israel, especially in the dark days when the nation had turned its back on the true God. Israel was gripped by idol worship, and the people had strayed far from the faith of their ancestors. But Elijah was unyielding. With the courage of a lion, Elijah stood against the false prophets and the wicked kings of Israel, particularly King Ahab and his treacherous wife, Queen Jezebel. They had led Israel into the worship of Baal, a false god of fire, and the land was suffering as a result. Elijah, knowing the depths of their sin, challenged the very throne of Israel. He declared that a drought would come upon the land, a punishment from God to call the people to repentance. For years, the drought persisted and the land withered. The people were thirsty, desperate, and afraid. But Elijah remained steadfast, proclaiming that the hand of God would move only when the people turned their hearts back to him. The ultimate test of Elijah's faith came on the slopes of Mount Carmel. There, on a stage set for divine drama, Elijah faced off against the prophets of Baal in a contest to prove whose God was real. The prophets of Baal, 450 strong, built their altar, calling on their God to send fire. But nothing came. The hours stretched on, and still, no fire from heaven. Their prayers turned to frantic chants. Their rituals grew desperate. But Elijah was calm. With a sarcastic smile, he taunted them, asking if their God was asleep or perhaps taking a break. But when his turn came, Elijah called upon the God of Israel with a simple prayer. And then in an instant, fire rained down from the heavens, consuming his offering, the wood, the stones, even the water that had been poured over it. The power of God was undeniable. The people, awestruck, fell to their knees, recognizing the truth. Elijah's God was a true God, and Baal was nothing more than a hollow idol. The false prophets were defeated, their lies burned away in the fiery blaze of truth. Victory, however, did not shield Elijah from the storm that followed. Queen Jezebel, enraged by the humiliation of her prophets, swore to kill Elijah. The mighty prophet, who had just witnessed the power of God, now found himself fleeing in fear. He ran for his life, escaping into the wilderness, consumed by doubt and despair. His heart was broken and his faith shaken. How could this happen? Hadn't God shown his power? Yet here he was on the run, unsure of his purpose. In the solitude of the wilderness, Elijah cried out to God. "I have had enough, Lord," he lamented. "Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." But God, ever faithful, did not abandon him. Instead, God sent an angel to provide Elijah with food and rest, and then spoke to him in a still, small voice. It was in that quiet moment that God reminded Elijah that his journey was far from over. Elijah was not alone, and the mission was not finished. He was instructed to anoint Hazael as king of Aram, Jehu as king of Israel, and to find a successor for himself, a young prophet named Elisha. Elisha, who had been following Elijah from a distance, was called to be his companion and successor, a loyal and devoted servant. Elisha refused to leave Elijah's side, even when Elijah tried to send him away. "As surely as the Lord lives and as you live, I will not leave you," Elisha declared. Their bond was unbreakable, and together they traveled from place to place, following the call of God. Elisha was determined to witness something extraordinary, to see the moment that his master, the great prophet, would be taken into the heavens. The time had come. Elijah and Elisha reached the Jordan River, and Elijah took his cloak, struck the water with it, and the river parted before them. As they crossed on dry ground, Elijah turned to Elisha and asked, "What can I do for you before I am taken from you?" Elisha's answer was simple but profound. "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." Elijah, acknowledging the weight of his request, replied, "You have asked a difficult thing. Yet, if you see me when I am taken from you, it will be yours." As they continued their journey, the wind began to stir once more, and then the chariot of fire appeared. Horses of flame, blazing with heat, descended from the heavens, and the whirlwind came to claim Elijah. With a cry, Elisha watched in awe as his master was taken up into the sky, the chariot and the horses disappearing into the clouds. The world was left in stunned silence, as the fiery ascent of Elijah became a symbol of divine power and the promise of God's enduring presence. Elisha stood there breathless, his heart racing. The mantle of Elijah had fallen upon him. The double portion he had asked for now is to bear. He picked up the cloak and, with a sense of awe, struck the waters of the Jordan. The river parted once again, and Elisha stepped forward, now carrying the weight of Elijah's spirit, ready to continue the work that had begun so many years before. The legacy of Elijah lived on, not only in the fiery display of his ascension, but in the life of Elisha, who would go on to perform many miracles and carry out the mission of God with the same boldness and faith as his predecessor. And so, Elijah's story, marked by fire, faith, and a dramatic departure, remains a testament to the power of God to call and equip his servants. His life was a living flame, a beacon of truth and courage that lit the way for those who would follow. His ascension, an unforgettable moment in the history of Israel, serves as a reminder that no matter how great the challenge is, God's power is always greater, and his purposes will be fulfilled.